This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 218, our festive Ant-Man and the Wasp and Pixar Pier episode of Skywalking Through Neverland. I'm a girl, so Paul Rudd, you know, I think he's the cutest thing since sliced bread. Except for you,
I'm
sweetie.
sitting right here. So this really should have been called The Wasp and Her Friend Ant-Man.
And then there was Baby Jack on the back, and he actually lit up in flames, too.
Whoa. So needless to say, he was an animatronic. So your apple dumpling gang was my Independence Day.
There you go.
And I felt my brain going back to, I wonder what Luke Cage is doing right now.
I remember Will Smith punching an alien.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets love.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never Land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers, and a happy Independence Day to you! Not that we want to celebrate the separation of all of our friends in Great Britain in these times, so today we'll just celebrate by blowing things up and taking the time to welcome each and every one of you to
Skywalking Through
Neverland. We are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom. I am Richard Woloski, and currently hopped up on a lot of sugar we just had this morning at our block party. But everyone, please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah.
I am not hopped up on sugar because I only ate strawberries.
Sweetie.
What?
Oh, I was reflecting back to all those sweets we just had.
All right. Well, I'm excited because we are here with Skywalkers, and it's time to give a big Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers. We want to thank you for listening to the show every week. We love it when you share our joy in this adventure through fandom. And this is a special episode, Richard.
I know, because we have a very, very special guest on with us.
Yes, we do. Our good friend, Dave Parfitt. He runs the travel and daddy blog site, Adventures by Daddy, where you can also find our movie and event reviews. Dave covers everything from theme parks to run Disney events to new films. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. Happy Independence Day. Have you blown anything up yet?
Not yet.
But this is being recorded, so for the sake of security and our innocence, we're going to say no.
There you go.
Well, we are recording this show from Long Beach, California, and Rochester, New York.
Hey.
On July 4th. Yeah, on July 4th, 2018. So here is what happened on July 4th in Star Wars history.
But you know what? Let's go first with something that happened on July the 3rd, 1996. And I put this in there just for you, sweetie.
Yay! Independence Day was released! Woohoo! Independence Day! I saw it on July 3rd, 1996. I was blown away. It was awesome. And I love the music.
Should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
That's what I call a close encounter.
Well, thank you for putting that in.
You are welcome. Dave, any Independence Day notes to add?
I remember Will Smith punching an alien.
Yeah.
You know what? You can pretty much sum the film up with that.
You know what's funny about that is that was my introduction to Will Smith. And I know, Richard, you're going, what? Because for you...
This is a story all about how my left gut switch turned upside down. You don't recall Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I never saw it.
Dave?
Oh, I definitely remember Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And there was the guy from Dancing with the Stars in it, too.
Well, Alfonso Ribeiro.
Oh,
there you go.
That's right.
Well, you know what? Some other things happened on July 4th in Star Wars and Disney history, including in 1981, Lucasfilm buries a time capsule by the main building at Skywalker Ranch. Including in this capsule are several props and the list of everyone in the Star Wars fan club at that time.
Wait a minute.
Dave, do you want to guess at whose name was on that list and who is currently buried at Skywalker Ranch?
Mark Hamill?
Wow, Richard was really leading you into that.
Yes, I was trying to lead you into something here, Dave.
Richard, is your name on that list?
Funny you should mention that. I'm sure Mark Hamill was in the Star Wars fan club, but as was I.
Nice.
So my name is buried on a little piece of microfilm at Skywalker Ranch.
Wow, that time capsule is the same age as me.
Oh my goodness.
When is it going to be opened?
That is a very, very good question.
Like 50 years or something?
When we were at Skywalker Ranch a few years ago, we were asking around, hey, where's this time capsule? And everyone's like, what?
Oh, no.
Time capsule. Oh, no. We gotta find this time capsule.
Oh.
Somebody's got to get a metal detector out to find it.
Yeah. Definitely. We gotta lead this crusade at some point.
All right, well, let's head back to 1975. And on July 4th, Disney's Apple Dumpling Gang was released. And we covered that, of course, in our podcast, Step in Time.
Oh, one of my favorite live-action Disney films.
This is so funny.
I loved Apple Dumpling Gang. I remember my mother taking us to a matinee of Apple Dumpling Gang. And I thought Tim Conway and, who was the other guy? He was Mr. Roper.
Don Knotts.
Oh.
Don Knotts. I thought Don Knotts and Tim Conway were just the best actors in the world. I thought it was the funniest movie at the time.
So your Apple Dumpling Gang was my Independence Day.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
Sort of.
All right. Also on this day in Disney history, July 4th, 1979, the very first baby is born at Disneyland. And her name, Teresa Salcedo. She received Disneyland's birth certificate number 1.
Wow. So how many?
One of 3.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how many have been born? So 3 people have been born at Disneyland.
Yes,
wow.
Yes, 3 babies have been born at Disneyland, last one being in April of 2002.
Wow, I bet that mom will never think of July 4th the same way again.
No, and there was a rumor that, hey, if a baby is born at Disneyland or any of the parks, they automatically get a lifetime pass.
Oh.
But Disneyland said, no, you don't.
Oh, yeah.
Because they didn't want all these expectant mothers crowding Disneyland every single day hoping to give birth.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah, and then where's their profit margin at that point? Now, on today's episode, we will review the 20th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Awesome. Now, Dave, you went to a special screening and got exclusive audio when you got to sit in small round tables and talk with the actors and Peyton Reed, the director.
I did. And they were fantastic. They were all great to talk to.
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I'm like so jealous.
Well, we'll go into that in just a little bit.
I know, okay.
And Sarah, you and I also went to a media screening, so we saw it as well, and our discussion later on will be spoilerific.
Yes.
Lots and lots of spoilers.
So here is your warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead.
All right. So, Dave, now you made good use of your time here in Southern California when you came out and visited, and you also attended a press preview of Pixar Pier at DCA. So we want to hear all about your experiences in
Things Dave Wants to Share.
Oh, I'm so excited to get a jingle.
Things Dave wants to share.
Ba-dum.
Things Dave wants to share. But you know what, Dave? Before we go into your stories and experiences, we want to invite everyone here in the Los Angeles area to come on over to the Platt Library on July the 19th, which is a Thursday, for our Star Wars Jedi Academy Trivia Tournament. Now, this is a live program that we're going to be doing where we divide groups into teams, the light side versus the dark, and play variations of games based on trivia.
And this is good for about kids ages 8 and up to adults as well. And what city is Platt Library in?
This is going to be in Woodland Hills.
Okay.
All right. So the program is from 4 p.m. until 5 p.m. Once again, at the Platt Library, address 23600 Victory Boulevard in Woodland Hills.
On July 19th.
Yes. We hope to see all you Skywalkers there and enjoy some fun trivia.
Yeah, we'll also be sure to post this in our Facebook group. So if you're over there, you will see that. Now, we want to thank everyone for sending in their happy beeps for our last episode. It's so great to get that breath of positivity and fandom. And it's not too late to email in your voice message of your happy beeps, since we will play them throughout the upcoming episodes. Like this one from Din, the lead singer of F105.
Hey Skywalkers, Din here from the band F105, and I'm calling to leave a message about what I love the most in fandom. Without thinking about it too much, I'd have to say number one is the fact that I get to share the thing that I love the most, aside from music, family, and friends, which is Star Wars, with a community of amazing people. I'd have to say that one of the best moments in my fandom was when I realized that there was this great community out there to share it with. And I've been thankful for it ever since. The second thing that I'm thankful for in fandom is the fact that I get to express my love of it through music, and that people actually like it. And I couldn't be more grateful for anything in my professional life than to have an audience that gives me their love, including podcasts like Skywalking through Neverland and their fans and friends. So thank you everyone very much. I can't even begin to express how happy I am about that. May the Force be with you.
And we're going to have Din on in just a couple of weeks, and he'll tell us all about his music and his Star Wars-inspired tracks. All right, so once again, everyone, share your happy beeps to share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Now, Dave, do you have a happy beep to share? Something that makes you really happy in your fandom?
Either Disney or Star Wars.
I would have to say my happy beep would just be the feeling of family that I get from Star Wars. I know I've said this before, but when I think of Star Wars, I think back to that very first movie experience I had with my father, and my sister was there with me. My father took me. It was the first film I ever saw in the theater, and it just gives me that warm feeling of family. And going up until the most recent Star Wars film, whenever I think of Star Wars, I think of family. I think of now taking my own family to see Star Wars. And I think of the friends that I've made through the Star Wars fan community that have really become like family to me.
And that is the most popular answer. Everyone is saying how Star Wars brings them together, how they can bring their kids to seeing a new Star Wars film. So I'm so glad that we did this, because it's so great to hear people's reactions and how and when they get to show their kids these movies and get a chance to sit in the theater with them as they watch a Star Wars film for the first time.
Yeah, it's very special.
Very, very happy.
All right, well now let's hear about Pixar Pier, which had its official opening June 23rd at DCA.
Get ready for Pixar Pier. Prepare to be awed. Prepare to be moved. Prepare to make a mad dash. Because with the Incredicoaster, Pixar Pal Round, and a bunch of your favorite Pixar characters, it's going to be pretty incredible. Pixar Pier, opening June 23rd, only at Disney California Adventure Park.
Now, we live 20 minutes away, but we still haven't been able to visit. But Dave, who lives in Rochester, New York, you got to go early. So, can you tell us a little about your trip?
I did get to go early. I was so excited. Well, I was invited to come out for the Ant-Man and the Wasp press event, and it happened to be the day after Pixar Pier was going to open. So I said, well, hey, if I'm going to come out for, all the way out to California to go see Ant-Man, I might as well see if I can get to Disneyland the day before to see the opening of Pixar Pier. So I was able to kind of extend my trip, come out a little bit early, and see the opening of Pixar Pier, which was a ton of fun.
Nice.
Wow. We are deeply, deeply jealous.
Can you tell us a little about the atmosphere of Pixar Pier?
I have to say, one of the things I was most excited about are some things that you've already gotten to do with Pixar Fest. So they're Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, they're kind of blurring the lines between Pixar Pier and Pixar Fest. The very first things I was able to do actually weren't really related to Pixar Pier. They were more related to Pixar Fest.
All right, you know what? Tell us the difference between the two, because I know we did a segment on Pixar Fest a couple of weeks ago. And so for anyone who hadn't heard that episode or still kind of blurry on these details, what is the difference between the two?
Pixar Fest is a celebration of the Pixar movies that's going on at both theme parks in Disneyland. So the Disney California Adventure theme park and the Disneyland theme park. So there's special decorations up, there's special food items that you can have. There's a special fireworks show at Disneyland, and there are some additional floats that have been added to the Pixar Play Parade at Disneyland, and there's a special float or two that's been added to the Paint the Night Parade at Disney California Adventure. That's all Pixar Fest, and that's a limited time festival going on just until September, I think. Pixar Pier now is a retheming of the Paradise Pier area of Disney California Adventure, where the roller coaster was, where Mickey's Fun Wheel was. That is all now getting a permanent Pixar overlay to it that opened on June 23rd and will last now forever. So there is no more Paradise Pier. That has now become Pixar Pier.
Yeah, and so it's permanent retheming, basically.
So on the Ferris wheel, do we still see Mickey's head, or is the Pixar ball in there?
There should be the Pixar ball, but no, we see the Mickey's head.
We see Mickey's head because people would have been up in arms about that. Just like everything else.
No. What are you talking about? Fandom is a very happy place. No one complains about anything.
Oh, boy.
But Mickey's Fun Wheel, the name has changed now, and it's now called, I think, the Pixar Pal Around.
Oh.
And so it has a different name, and on each of the gondolas, there are Pixar characters that have been painted on the gondolas as opposed to Mickey Mouse characters.
You know what I think they should have done is have Pixar characters come with you on the gondolas.
Ooh, that would have been
super
nice.
Fun.
But then everyone would be fighting for Buzz Lightyear.
I know, Jessie.
Or Nemo, or I'd be fighting for Wally.
Yeah.
Kid, move out of the way!
Yeah,
I wanna ride
it's like my jingles on the carousel. Push some kids out of the way to ride with Wally.
That's what I'd be doing with Wally. If I can't be Rebel Spy, at least let me sit next to Wally. Wally. All right, so Dave, you were saying?
Well, so the first thing I got to experience actually were Pixar Fest themes. I actually arrived at Disneyland in the evening.
Ooh.
And the very first thing I got to see was the Paint the Night Parade, which I never got to see when it was there for Disneyland's 60th anniversary.
Oh, no.
So this was my first time seeing Paint the Night, and I was so excited to see it.
So now this is over at DCA now. Is that correct?
This is over at DCA now.
Okay. So did you get to see the new float that's like the Incredibles themed float?
I did get to see the new float. So it was the very first time that the Incredibles float was ever on the parade. I got to see it, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, there was all the Incredibles characters were on it. Violet was up top making a shield ball that glowed and everything. Dash ran around the side. You had Frozone at the top. It was a very cool float.
Were they actual Incredibles or animatronics?
They were kind of both. Mr. and Mrs. Incredible and Frozone were all actual characters that waved to you and were on the float. Dash was a light effect. Violet was an animatronic, and then there was Baby Jack Jack on the back, and he actually lit up in flames too.
Whoa! So needless to say, he was an animatronic.
Yes.
With a sign that says, "Kids, don't try this at home."
Yeah, right. Well, that's awesome. So, yeah, we need to see that float at least. I know, because for Pixar Fest, Richard, we saw the parade. Remember, we met some new friends there who were Star Wars fans.
Mm-hmm.
We were waiting along with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what I'm most excited to hear about, because the major change to Pixar Pier is the re-theming of Screamin' Coaster, and it is now the Incredicoaster. So can you tell us about that?
I loved the Incredicoaster. I'm a roller coaster fan. And I actually really liked California Screamin'. I thought California Screamin' was a great roller coaster. It didn't have a particular Disney element to it, but it was a good ride. I really liked California Screamin'. Mm-hmm. Now, Disney has taken a good roller coaster and made it even better because they added those Disney elements that make Disney rides great. They gave it a story, they gave it characters, they gave it special effects. It's the exact same track and exact same layout. And now with this Incredibles overlay to it, it's a much better ride.
Awesome.
Is there a storyline to it?
There's a storyline to it that Baby Jack Jack escapes from Edna Mode. And now all the Incredibles need to catch Baby Jack Jack. So Dash is running alongside you. Mrs. Incredible is stretching through the tunnels to catch Baby Jack. Jack is shooting lasers at you. At one point, Mr. Incredible is breaking through the tunnel and you can smell cookies. You're engulfed in a cookie smell. At another point, Baby Jack Jack bursts into flame and Violet has to throw up a shield around you to protect us from the flame. And then at the very end, Baby Jack Jack is back with Edna Mode and everything is all happy again. So this is all happening on a very short 3-minute roller coaster ride. You have this story.
Wow.
Well, there's a whole movie right there.
Also, Michael Giacchino scored the roller coaster.
Michael Giacchino scored the roller coaster. And again, having that music, having that Incredibles music just adds to the story element of the ride. It makes it much better.
Now, there are digital projections in the tunnels, or how does the story come to fruition?
For the most part, it's statues. It's like it's not really animatronics. It's static figures.
Oh wow!
So those static character figures are what are telling the story, and then there are lighting effects, and then the smell of the cookies. But for the most part, it is those kind of static character statues that have been added.
Huh? I'm kind of split on that decision. On one hand, I love the fact that they're sticking with Disney-isms and not doing the Universal theme park where everything is now a digital projection.
Right.
But you would think with something like this and a storyline like what you just described, you would think that you would need to use digital projections to show Dash running along and Violet with her power orb and Mr. Incredible coming through the wall and Elastigirl.
I think part of it, you do have one digital projection. That's at the very beginning of the ride. So you enter the roller coaster. Your loading platform is the Incredibles house, that mid-century modern house. The roller coaster takes off. You see Edna in the house, and you have a digital effect of Baby Jack Jack kind of appearing and disappearing in different aspects of the house. Then everything else, I actually think it's very clever how they did it. Because the roller coaster is moving so fast, you have that launch speed.
Right.
They use different special effects to represent different characters. So when you launch out of the starting platform, what's running beside you is actually that water splashing element. And that's representing Dash actually running alongside the water, splashing up beside you.
Oh my goodness.
And then you zip into the first tunnel. And what you see, yes, it's a static statue, but again, because of the motion of the roller coaster, it looks like Mrs. Incredible is stretching throughout the tunnel trying to reach baby Jack. And then you have these lighting effects that are Jack's laser beams coming from his eyes.
Wow.
So I think you don't have the digital projection screens, but you kind of get that motion and dynamic aspects of it because of the motion of the roller coaster.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. All right, you know what? You sold me.
You sold us. Yay.
So again, I really think that Disney took a good ride and made it better. I think Incredicoaster is a great roller coaster, and it's nice to see the Incredibles characters around. This is the first ride that's ever been based on Incredibles characters.
So it's kind of like how Space Mountain became Hyperspace Mountain. It became more awesome because of that.
You know what? I think I like the sound of this roller coaster more than I liked Incredibles 2.
Well, I'm excited to try it out, definitely. And now moving around the pier, you have some themed games and stores along the pier. Did you have like a favorite one?
Well, okay. Now here's the thing with Pixar Pier.
Okay.
So I think my favorite has to be the Incredicoaster.
Okay.
But now if you really think about it, everything else with Pixar Pier, and even the Incredicoaster, there's really nothing new there. Everything has been rethemed and given a Pixar overlay.
Right.
So you have Toy Story Midway Mania is exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Pixar Pal Around is what was Mickey's Fun Wheel. So you kind of slap Pixar characters onto Mickey's Fun Wheel and made it a new attraction. Jessie's Critter Carousel is not going to be open until 2019.
Oh, man.
I know. I was surprised by that. I thought that was actually going to be open, but there's a big walls around it. And then there's going to be an Inside Out attraction that, again, doesn't open until 2019. The Midway Games have all been given a Pixar overlay, but they're essentially the same games that were there. So, I mean, if you like those Midway Games, you'll probably like these games. And, again, it has now a Pixar theme to it.
Is Bing Bong's Candy Shop there?
Bing Bong's Candy Shop is not open yet, and to my knowledge, I don't think that is going to be open until 2019 when the Inside Out attraction opens.
Wow.
So this is like Pixar Pier Part 1.
Agreed.
Okay.
And what is the Inside Out attraction?
The Inside Out attraction is going to be called Emotional Whirlwind, and it's a family ride. It's a spinner ride. And I believe, if you remember, there was a ride in A Bug's Land that was a spinner. I think it might have been like Flick's Spinner. I believe they're actually taking that ride from A Bug's Land and moving it over to Pixar Pier for this Emotional Whirlwind ride.
I'm kind of getting the visions of a teacup spinoff. No pun intended.
It's going to be more of an aerial ride. I would think more of like a Dumbo type ride than a teacup ride.
Right.
Okay.
So like you're up in the air going around.
It's funny when we saw Inside Out and we saw that memory scene with all the balls, we just kept thinking, oh, that's got to be a ride at some point. And I guess now it is.
Yep. And I think the balls are going to be it's almost going to be like a balloon ride. So there's like 8 balls that kind of spin around a central element.
All right. Well, I know there was one big thing that was also rethemed, and that is Lamplight Lounge, which was formerly Ariel's Grotto.
Lamplight Lounge. I didn't get a chance to eat in there, but I did peek my head inside there.
Okay.
It is an absolutely gorgeous venue. Lamplight Lounge is really nice. And the idea is that this is the lounge that the Pixar artists would go and relax in after their workday was done. And it has some great Pixar elements to it. There's artwork on the walls that are sketches from Disney movies. There is great mosaics, great atmosphere. I actually really think that Lamplight Lounge is a real highlight of Pixar Pier.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? As long as they still have their shrimp and nachos, we're good. We're
lobster
good there.
nachos, you mean?
Oh, yeah, the lobster. Lobster nachos.
Lobster nachos are still on the menu.
Yes.
All right, sold.
And the food in there actually looked really good. Like I said, I didn't get to try it because I arrived too late and left too early because I had to get to the Ant-Man event, so I didn't get to have the food. But there are some fun food stands in Pixar Pier itself too. That's kind of the other aspect of Pixar Pier, that food is an attraction. So they have the Poultry Palace. Of course, they have a Jack Jack Cookie Num Nums stand. They have Senor Buzz Churros stand and Angry Dog's hot dog stand from the anger emotion of Inside Out.
Oh, right. Oh, that's so cute.
You would think they would sell hot tamales there.
They don't sell hot tamales there, but at Senor Buzz Churros, they have a caliente churro, which is spicy hot.
Yeah. Whoa. Oh, speaking of spicy hot, what kind of new merchandise did they have? Anything new? Anything spectacular? What'd you get?
The merchandise they actually have some really cute stuffed animals. So that's the one thing with the Midway Games, the Pixar-themed Midway Games. All the prizes are these adorable Pixar stuffed animals. So they have an Eve and a Wall-E stuffed animal.
Ooh.
They have the little boy from La Luna, the Pixar short with the stars, where the boy was putting the stars in the sky, that little Italian boy they have.
Well, there's a deep cut.
Yeah. And they have a lot of the bugs from A Bug's Life are all stuffed animals.
Every time we go to a D23 Expo or any kind of convention with Disney having a big presence, they're always giving away those Pixar balls.
I was going to say.
And we never get one.
No, they are gone. They are like the most popular things ever. You'd think they'd have those as
I've always wanted one. I've always wanted one of those Pixar balls.
That's a really good point. And I would have thought that would have been like maybe a prize in a game or something you could buy. But no, I didn't see that anywhere.
Oh, epic fail. Come on, Disney. Maybe in 2019 they'll do it. Come on, Disney. There's your impetus right there.
Yeah,
don't want to disappoint us. We want the Pixar balls.
Oh, and I'm waiting for some Bing Bong stuffed animals to come out too.
Yeah. Bing bong, bing bong. Who's your friend that likes to play?
Bing bong, bing bong. Who needs a sound clip when we can sing it ourselves?
I know, right?
And they need a meet and greet Bing Bong too.
Oh.
Any meet and greet Bing Bongs? Or is that for 2020?
Yeah.
That would be a great addition, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to smell like cotton candy too.
There are a lot of walk around Incredibles characters. Edna Mode is walking around. Buzz and Woody were walking around.
Nice. Well, that's exciting.
Wally? Well, they have a walk around Wally, and he's like out once every 15 years. What gives? Oh, wait, hold on. 2019, huh?
There you go.
There you go.
All right, fine. All right.
Before we move on to Ant-Man and the Wasp, is there anything else you'd like to share? Maybe some tips and tricks about?
Tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Go ride Incredicoaster first thing in the morning. As soon as you get to Disney California Adventure, go straight to Incredicoaster. Don't pass go. Do not collect $200. Because what used to have a 20-minute wait for California Screamin' is now probably about a 3-hour wait.
Whoa.
Oh. All right, maybe we'll wait until like January to go.
Right? I hope is it on Fast Pass?
I think it is. Yes, I think it is.
Oh, well, that's good. So
now, would you recommend having a really big breakfast before riding the Incredicoaster?
Would you have a really big breakfast before riding California Screamin'? Because there are loops and twists and turns on that.
I'll take that as a yes. All right, good deal. Good deal. All right, so before we wrap up this review on Pixar Pier Part 1, anything else to add?
I think that's it.
All right. All right, then. Are you ready to move into our review and discussion of Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Let's do it.
I am. Woohoo!
All right, so we'll give our reviews, have a discussion, and then Dave, you can tell us all about the press day.
So, how long have you been Ant-Man again?
Not long. It just sort of happened.
I wish I could fight bad guys like you.
I seem to mess it up almost every time.
Maybe you just need someone watching your back. Hi, like a partner.
Dr. Pym, I actually heard what happened to you. You opened up the quantum realm. That's when this crazy creepy ghost who like walks through walls and stuff. Stole your tech. And now she wants to take over the world or whatever. The only chance we've got is both of you.
Ant-Man and the Wasp teaming up.
Follow my lead.
But before we move into this discussion, let's just warn everyone, once again, there will be spoilers. Major spoilers here.
Attention, Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention, Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
All right, Ant-Man and the Wasp. It stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Lawrence Fishburne, and Michelle Pfeiffer, who is the original Wasp. And the movie picks up right before the events of Infinity War. So Scott Lang, who is Paul Rudd, he is under house arrest after the events of Captain America Civil War and struggles to find balance between being a father and his new responsibilities of being a superhero. So just as his, 2-year home sentence is about to end, he's presented with a new mission from Hope, who of course is the Wasp and played by Evangeline Lilly, and Hank Pym, who is Michael Douglas. The three must once again work together to find Hope's mom, Janet, Michelle Pfeiffer, who is stuck in the quantum realm and has been stuck there for 30 years.
Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer joins that roster of actors who have played multiple superheroes.
Oh, because
or villains.
She played Catwoman?
Meow.
She played Catwoman,
Okay.
and now she played the original Wasp.
Nice.
Welcome to the club. All right, so Dave, what were your thoughts after you had seen Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I really liked Ant-Man and the Wasp, I have to say. The thing I like about Ant-Man, the original movie and now this second movie, is it's smaller. You know, we've gotten so that the Marvel Cinematic Universe films are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger with more and more and more superheroes. We had Captain America Civil War with, 15 or 20 superheroes. And then we had Avengers Infinity War with, I don't know how many superheroes were in that.
85.
85.
Ant-Man
24, right? Yeah, Infinity War.
That's
There was
right.
24 people at the press conference. That was ridiculous.
There you go. That's right.
Yes.
And so Ant-Man brings it down into a more human scale, or maybe I should say an insect scale.
Oh.
And I feel like I can relate to it a little bit more. There's less to pay attention to. They can focus on individual characters a little bit more. I like the humor that Paul Rudd brings. I like this everyman quality that Paul Rudd brings to Ant-Man. So I really like these movies, and I feel like I relate to it a lot.
We'll go into all those relatable moments in a few seconds, but Sarah, what were your reactions after you had seen Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Okay, so I thought it was a really fun movie. And specifically, I mean, I'm a girl, so Paul Rudd, I think he's the cutest thing since sliced bread. Except for you,
I'm
sweetie.
sitting right here.
Well, okay, but my Paul Rudd fandom goes back to, was it 99 when Clueless came out?
I think it was 95.
Yeah, 1995.
Well, okay, so I was a teenager, and Paul Rudd was the cutest thing since sliced bread when I was a teenager, okay? And I loved him in Clueless, and meh. So he's just so charming, and just seeing him again in these films, it just makes me, it's like, oh, it's Paul Rudd, So I have this overarching, like, it automatically gives it 1 star above what it would already be. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like when you like someone in the cast. So
You got a crush on Paul Rudd. We get it. We get it.
Okay, so, a lot of the Marvel movies, it's all about the tone. It's all about kind of, you got the humor mixed with the drama. Well, in this film, there's a lot of humor, and really it's the chemistry of the cast that sent it overboard for me in a good way. Like, I just thought Paul Rudd really connected with all the cast, and that was my favorite part of the whole film. It wasn't the action scenes. It wasn't all the crazy, like, getting smaller and getting larger and kicking butt. It was really the chemistry between all the cast that really just put it over the edge for me.
Okay.
So that's my overall thoughts, and we'll get into the details.
All right.
So, Richard, what were your overall thoughts?
I never thought that Paul Rudd could pull off being an Avenger. And you know what? Going back to Civil War when he was cast, what are you guys doing to this movie? Paul Rudd, really? And honestly, I still have trouble wrapping my head around it.
Really?
Just because he's not that kind of an actor, which is good to go out of the realm of predictable.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's just so much fun to watch.
Yes.
His humor is spot on. His delivery and his timing is impeccable. So when
and he's charming.
Yeah, we get it. So when watching him, I never really think, oh, this guy should not be an Avenger. It's kind of like when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, the whole world was like, Mr. Mom, really? But when you're watching him, okay, fine. I'm gonna save my judgment until right now, and all that judgment is out the window because he just sells it point by point by point.
He's also kind of our look into the superheroes, like especially in Civil War.
Yeah, he definitely speaks for us, the audience members, because he's the everyday man.
Right, he comes, he meets Captain America, he's like, Captain America! And he feels his chest up.
He's the fanboy. So, yeah, we get it. So, when we're watching it, we totally accept Paul Rudd in this character, because he's so relatable. And that's why they had cast him, because he is that everyman.
I totally agree with everything you said there, Richard. And I was very dubious with the first Ant-Man movie when I heard Paul Rudd was cast in this role, and then they had the turnover with the director from Edgar Wright to Peyton Reed. I just thought this was a train wreck waiting to happen. And when I saw Paul Rudd, when I saw the first Ant-Man, I loved it. I really enjoyed the movie, and it really sold me on it. So I was kind of looking forward to what they were going to do to kind of with the evolution of Ant-Man and the Wasp. The other thing I really like about the Ant-Man character, Scott Lang, and Paul Rudd playing him, is he brings that parent element to it. And as a father myself, and as a father of daughters, and Scott Lang has a daughter, Cassie, in this movie, that's the other thing that I really relate to in Ant-Man, and now Ant-Man and the Wasp, too.
Right. And I think he's got great chemistry, Paul Rudd and Scott Lang. They both have great chemistry with this little girl, Cassie. And that was one of the best humanistic elements, seeing them making their house forts and all these slides, and how he's just a big kid. Mm-hmm. And the quality time he wants to spend with his daughter. But I was really looking forward to some more character moments, because he'd just come off of being an Avenger, fighting in Germany with all the other Avengers. Now he's under house arrest. How's he gonna spend his time? So I was looking forward to some moments of him just looking out into the world, going, I can help make this place a safer, better place, but yet I'm stuck inside. And after fighting with the Avengers, who he's a big fanboy of, I wanted to see him struggle more, wanting to get out there. And he knows that his ultimate freedom is on the line. So there's a major, major struggle, which I feel they've kind of touched on. But yet, they could have gone a little bit further by just having some more character moments. Almost like what we went through with Peter Parker and Spider-Man Homecoming. But still, after what he had gone through, how do you come back to the ordinary world after dealing with all of that? With all of those battles?
I had a very different take on it, because I think because of what he went through fighting with the Avengers in Germany, and almost losing his family, putting his daughter at risk because he was fighting with the Avengers, I think that made him reevaluate everything and center more on his family. So I think he's actually quite ambivalent about being a superhero. I think he could really take it or leave it.
No, I don't get that at all. Because he's always so ready to join the fight. And even the first film, he knew his daughter was on the line, but it's like, oh, you know what? I've got to do what I got to do, and went off to these adventures in being Ant-Man. And I think even with this film right here, he was a little bit he jumped into this new mission. It's like, well, you're days away from ending your house arrest. You know what? Sit down, get some Velcro, put it on your butt, and just stay down and just wait. But he went right out there. I know there was a bigger picture at hand, and they had to go after Janet, who was stuck in the quantum realm.
Right. I
really struggled with that, and maybe since this is going on at the same time as Infinity War, he maybe had heard some things about what's going on in Wakanda and over in England with the Vision and Scarlet Witch, and just really wanting to get out there. And I just wanted to see more of a struggle rather than him playing basketball, ricocheting the ball off of walls, going into the basketball net.
Right, but I actually agree with Dave here a little more in that he could kind of take or leave the superhero thing, and he's a dad first. And the fact that he's one of the, I think he's the only Avenger at this point who is a father or has
Except
a kid.
for
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye,
He's got a
okay.
couple kids.
That's right. So, and in this movie, they especially highlight that. And even to the point where he takes emergency FaceTime calls from his daughter while, he's
being captured.
Yeah, captured with enemies and stuff. And he also is able to give advice to Wasp about father-daughter relationships, like within the film. I thought that was
very much
really
so.
cool to bring up.
But-
and yeah, that's why he wanted to stay under house arrest, but elements.
Well, he had to. He had no choice.
Right.
And even in the first film, he was a criminal. That was in his DNA. So he's fighting that. But I think his instincts of wanting to get out there into the action, that almost parallels, comes in a very close second to fatherhood. So I wanted to see more of a struggle rather than seeing him just being bored.
Okay. Well, now that we talked about Ant-Man, let's get into the Wasp, the other half of this film. Now, for me, I really loved her opening scene where, she's trying to get that tech from the man in his hotel, and things aren't going her way, so she dons her Wasp outfit and starts kicking ass. Like, I really got those kind of overtones of the Wonder Woman when I saw that movie. I was like, yes, go Evangeline Lilly. So I was excited about that.
And the first MCU film to have a female character in the title.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so they made huge leaps and bounds with Black Panther, reaching a whole new audience, and I think they're doing it once again with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right. So what did you guys think of the Wasp?
I think it's actually really key that the Wasp is in the title of this film, because it's really a coming-of-age story for the Wasp. It is as much or more of the Wasp's film as it is Ant-Man's film. She is really taking the lead. She is a strong woman, a smart woman, an independent woman, and it's about time, kind of as we saw at the end of the first Ant-Man movie, when she was being shown the Wasp costume by her dad, and she looks at it and says, "It's about damn time." That's actually exactly what we have in this film too. This is the Wasp's moment, and she is the one that's really kind of taking the lead in a lot of the action and a lot of the daring. So I actually commend Marvel for finally putting a female superhero, a superheroine as a title character and giving her such a prominent role in this film.
So this really should have been called The Wasp and Her Friend Ant-Man.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, she is better at a lot of the things that she does than
because
Ant-Man.
this is her thing.
Right.
Scott Lang was just thrown into all of this because Hank Pym, Michael Douglas, hey, I need to sacrifice someone. Hey, Scott, I'm not going to send my daughter out into the quantum world where I just lost my wife. So you're going to be the guinea pig. That's what it comes down to. And that's why in this whole film, she has this grudge against Scott because, hey, I should be Ant-Man. But now
very true.
We see why Scott was picked.
And when we first meet the Wasp in this film, she really could care less about Scott Lang. She could care less about Ant-Man. She's better trained. She doesn't need him. He went off and left her to fight with the Avengers in Germany, didn't even ask her to join in. She could care less about Ant-Man, and she is off doing her own thing. And it's only when she realizes that they kind of need what Scott Lang learned when he went to the quantum realm in the first movie, that's like, okay, I'll work with him if I have to, but I really don't want to.
Right.
And her kitchen battle was very reminiscent of Quicksilver's kitchen battle in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Remember when he's running around in slow motion?
Yeah.
So now we have this kitchen battle where she's shrinking, she's enlarging and shrinking again. And
using frying pans?
Yes, exactly. Watching Tangled way too many times. They go, hey, I know what to do with this. And making the salt shaker much bigger.
That was cool.
Yeah, very, very funny scene and a great introduction to the character.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I agree.
Speaking of female characters, what did you think of the Ghost, the new villain?
Oh.
The Ghost played by Hannah John Kamen. She's intense. She has a darkness and intensity to her, and she is ruthless and powerful and is looking for some revenge and is looking to survive. So that's kind of my main takeaway from her is I thought she was really intense.
But with all that said, do you really think that she thinks she's a villain?
No, she doesn't think she's a villain at all.
No, those are the best villains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's very clear that she doesn't think that she's a villain at all. And I think Marvel's getting better at having these conflicted villains. And you understand the motivations for her actions. And I kind of think that we may have some redemption of the Ghost towards the end of this film and maybe even going into future films.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really think of her as a villain at all. I know when it got down to the moment where she wanted to change or she would die, you know, she was pretty much willing to throw anybody under the bus. And I guess that's what kind of makes you a villain is when you step over that line.
Right.
But she was just trying to survive.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. She was in so much pain that she had to end that suffering by doing some things that weren't necessarily on the good side.
Right. Right.
She's coming out very strong after such powerful villains like Eric Killmonger and Black Panther and Thanos and Infinity War. Now, we didn't need another villain as huge as that.
Right.
Yeah, her conflict was more within.
Well, it was interesting because you had two opposing forces who wanted to use the same tech.
And both good.
Both good.
From their point of view.
Right. Right. So I thought that was a very compelling conflict in this film.
Right. And hats off to Peyton Reed and the screenwriters who said, hey, in the comics, the Ghost is a male.
Okay.
But let's change things up so now she can be a female.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a great turnover, and it couldn't have come out any better.
Right.
If they had used a male character, an actor, I don't think it would have come out as strong. But you could really sense her inner conflict, and that scene where she and Scott Lang are having a heart-to-heart.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best scenes, I think, in the last, let's say, 10 MCU movies. That was a great scene between the two, between hero and villain.
I totally agree with you, and I that was a point I was going to bring up as well, that they switched the gender of this character from the comics to the film, and I think it's great for Marvel to have more representation in these films. You know, let's eventually get to a point where we're having 50-50 equal male and women heroes and villains.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the moment where we're not even having that discussion anymore. They're just superheroes. They're not male, female, race, ethnicity. Let's just call them superhero movies.
Right.
There you go.
And after the weighty films of Black Panther and Infinity War and what's coming up in Ms. Marvel, I think this was a very good film to release right now.
Kind of a good tonal departure.
Yes. And because we're having such different kind of heroes of different, like we said, ethnicities and races and genders, this fits in perfectly, so we can now look at them all as superheroes.
And I think I titled my review of this film that this was just the laugh we needed after Avengers Infinity War. I think they really needed to have that shift in tone. Avengers Infinity War was so heavy and left everybody just feeling so exhausted and kind of wiped out, literally, at the end of it. This is like we needed to be able to kind of like take a breath, relax, laugh, and just enjoy this movie.
I know we all weren't ready for a humorous film the first time around with Ant-Man, but the humor just landed every step of the way. So, Dave, do you think the humor landed in the sequel?
I think for the most part it did. I actually wish I could have seen a little bit more of that humor. One of the characters who I thought was like a breakout character in Ant-Man was Luis, played by Michael Pena.
Show stealer.
I loved every scene that he was in, and I wanted to see more of him in Ant-Man and the Wasp. We saw a little bit of him, and he got to do his kind of, fast-talking storytelling bit, like you said, and I loved it. I ate it up, and when we were screening it, the whole theater was just laughing at and eating it all up. And I wish I could have seen a little bit more of that in this film.
Yeah, the montage from the first film where he's telling the whole story and they're cutting away to all the characters but using his voice.
His voice
was perfect. And I was kind of hoping they would not repeat the same joke again.
But they did, but in a good way.
And it worked. It worked. And I was so happy because it was shorter.
And it was with truth serum.
Yeah.
It's not truth serum. Don't call it truth serum.
But it is. That was so hilarious. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, so do I. That's my point, that they repeat. And so often, sequels try to repeat what worked in the first film, and it always falls flat. But this time, mint.
Yes.
A mint scene and a mint joke. And I hope they don't... I don't know. Do you want to see this convention repeated in every Ant-Man film where Louise tells a story in this montage?
I think if it's done in a clever way like that, like with the truth serum, I think it could work. But I don't think he can ever just tell his story straight again.
Yeah,
you have to have some reason for him to be talking like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Or they're going to grind it down to the ground.
Right.
So I'm worried about that.
Okay. Well, is there going to be a third Ant-Man?
Yes. At the end, it says Ant-Man and the Wasp will return.
Oh.
Mm.
One thing I was going to say is, speaking of telling stories, though, and Louise kind of telling his story, one of the things that I thought was really funny was Paul Rudd really stretching his acting. So he had a moment where he was actually channeling other characters as well, and I thought that was actually a really funny part of the movie.
When was this?
Oh, where Paul Rudd had to show his feminine side and was channeling...
Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
That was so subtle and well done. I thought that was great.
Yeah. And where he's subtly holding the hand of Hank Pym, and I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I think the humor in this really, really landed, especially the rolling Pym Laboratories gag where they could shrink it down to a suitcase
that was
and have it be a rolling suitcase.
Yeah, but then it's easier to steal.
As we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Richard, I was thinking of you. One of the things that I really liked was when Hank Pym had his assortment of vehicles that he could shrink and enlarge. And what does he carry those vehicles in? For one of those Hot Wheel tire toy car cases.
That's awesome.
I'm like, yes, I had that.
Oh, so did I. I still have mine.
Really?
I still have mine too.
Aww.
Yeah. So, you know what? Overall, as funny as the film was, and I love the intro, and I love the third act, for me, the second act really fell short.
Wow.
Yeah, and I found myself, because we were watching Luke Cage on Netflix, and I felt my brain going back to, I wonder what Luke Cage is doing right now. It really, really slowed way down. I felt like the A story should have been the B story, and we should have really been following Scott with his struggles about fatherhood and being a superhero. I know we touched on the whole fatherhood thing in the first film, but I want to see more of that struggle, and then finding Janet in the quantum realm, which really became the A story. That should have taken a backseat to more Scott.
I didn't get that at all.
I was going to say, I could see that point. I mean, because I really like all the interaction with Scott Lang and his daughter Cassie. I think actually those were some of the most powerful scenes in the movie, when Cassie is telling Scott Lang that he needs a partner, and she's thinking of herself, as his daughter, as being his partner. Like as a dad, that kind of tugged at my heartstrings, and I would have loved to see a little bit more of that, and kind of going into a little bit deeper about Cassie there.
I kind of wanted to see Scott make his daughter a little Black Widow costume.
Aww.
Because these characters all exist in this world, and I could see Cassie being a big fan of Black Widow.
Wouldn't it be funny if you made her a Wonder Woman costume?
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
I think that would be great.
Maybe in a Deadpool movie.
Oh.
Yeah, even then, too many lawyers involved.
Well, one thing I really liked about this film is that Christoph Beck, the composer for Ant-Man, was back to compose this one. So, and also as a side note, Christoph Beck composed the music to Frozen. So not the main songs, but the soundtrack to that. Did you guys did any of the music stand out to you in this particular film?
Not whatsoever.
Okay.
Not whatsoever. And which is sad because in this day and age, I just don't feel the soundtracks and the themes really stand out the way they used to. I love the Avengers theme, but ask me what the Spider-Man theme or the Thor theme or the Ant-Man theme is, I couldn't pick it out of a crowd.
Oh, wow. See, to me, the Ant-Man theme is one of the most recognizable because it is in a weird meter. And I went online to look up something of what Christoph Beck was saying about composing for Ant-Man and the Wasp. And what he said was, here, let me see. This is on the website Musique Fantastique. And this is what he had to say about the music. So when you guys watch the film, maybe remember this. So here is Christoph. I had previously created a theme for the Ant-Man in the odd meter of 7, which means 7 beats per bar. So when you listen to it, it seems like it's off a beat. It's like you're trying to hum along. It's like there's an extra beat in there, which is exactly what happens with the Ant-Man theme. And he's right. It gives it just more of a rhythmic effect, which works for Ant-Man. Here he goes on. I created a theme for the Wasp, which was in the odd meter of 5. So 5 beats per bar. Most songs and scores are written in the more traditional 4/4 or 3/4 meters, but when more beats are added to create a complex meter, it brings a dynamic, rhythmic effect to the music, which fits in with the multifaceted character of these two superheroes. Just to me, it stands out because of that different meter. And I had a really fun time listening to the music again. And kind of like The Incredibles 2, where I really liked the movie partly because the score was so much fun to listen to. It had me kind of humming along and bouncing along. Similar, the Ant-Man and the Wasp score did the same for me.
I have to say, I did not remember the Ant-Man theme until you just started humming it there, Sarah. And then when you did, I was like, oh yeah, that's the Ant-Man theme.
Yeah.
But the thing that hit me with the music for the film was the appearance of Morrissey. That was a surprise for me.
Morrissey
from the Smiths. Scott Lang's ringtone is a Morrissey song. Luis's in his story has a funny line about how his Latin grandmother has a jukebox that plays all Morrissey songs.
So it's funny you say that because actually the first teaser for Ant-Man and the Wasp had a musical Easter egg, which someone on Twitter, they tweeted to the director, Peyton Reed, and asked, hey, is that the guitar riff from Ants Invasion by Adam and the Ants?
Oh.
So, and so Peyton Reed says, it is indeed. So the very first trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp uses the same guitar riff. It doesn't use the song, but it uses this very particular guitar riff.
See, had it been Goody Two Shoes, Goody Two Shoes by Adam Ant, I'd have been all over that. But this I've never heard, so I've just been musically educated.
Yeah. And so Adam Ant was one of the more colorful figures to emerge from the post-punk and new wave scene of the late 70s and early 80s.
Oh, yeah. If you had MTV, you saw that video every fourth video.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I remember Adamant from the I Want My MTV generation, and Peyton Reed knows his 80s music, that's for sure.
I want my MTV!
Yeah, too much is never enough.
All right, Dave, so before we roll into your press junket audio, let's talk about the post-credit scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh.
What's your take on this?
Don't miss it.
Yeah, it like turns into a whole different movie at that point.
Yeah.
It sure does. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, it leaves you kind of, the movie ends on a high note, you're feeling good, and you see the post-credit scene, and you're brought right back down to where you felt at Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
Guys?
And if Scott had come out of that quantum realm 2 seconds earlier,
Yes.
it would have been a whole different film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens, where they take this.
Yeah. And
because no one knows he's in there.
Well, I know. So is he going to somehow find his way out, or being in the quantum realm, will that help save everything from Thanos, or who knows? Who knows?
I don't know. We have to ask Doctor Strange.
I'm so excited though. I hope that comes back. I'm sure it will.
Well, it has to.
In Infinity War 2. Whatever that film is gonna
Avengers
be named.
4 Infinity War Part 2.
Yeah. The as yet
I think
unnamed.
I think it's going to have a huge role in Avengers Infinity War. And in fact, I think the fact that Scott is in the quantum realm and stuck in the quantum realm is definitely going to play a big part of that. And did you notice how much the quantum realm actually looked like the different dimensions from Doctor Strange?
Oh,
good catch.
No.
Yeah, I think actually one of the dimensions that Doctor Strange went to in his film was the quantum realm. And I think there's going to be a connection there that's going to be important in Avengers 4 too.
All right,
Awesome.
So this is a place that Doctor Strange already knows, so it won't be too hard for him to go in and pull Scott out.
Hopefully.
But isn't Doctor Strange dead?
I don't remember. Did he die?
There's
Have you
too
gone
many.
to that website that tells you whether you die or not?
No,
Whether
I
you're
haven't
dust or
seen
not?
that.
I think that's why they added the second post-credit scene of the ant playing drums, just to leave you on a high note.
To make it a little lighter.
Yeah, and all throughout the film, I kept thinking, when is the ant drum scene going to happen? Because he's hiding all the trailers.
Yeah.
And it was weird, but yet it was really fun.
Yeah.
So, Dave, after you had come home from your trip and seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp, how was your relationship to your daughters? Was it any different after seeing a movie like this where such importance was placed on Scott and his relationship to his daughter?
I think I'm very much like Scott Lang. My relationship with my daughters is very important. So I think it just made me want to pull them closer and make sure that they know that they are strong women that can do anything they put their mind to.
Nice.
Oh, you are a good dad. All right. With that, tell us about the press preview and the meeting you had with the cast and crew. And did you meet with them before or after you saw the film?
We got to meet with the cast after we saw the film, which was great because they weren't holding anything back with us then.
Nice.
Oh, good. Because recently they've been holding the press conference and then showing us the film, which, wait a minute, how can we ask any questions or how can you say anything when we haven't seen the film yet? So I'm glad they reversed that for you.
No, it was really nice. And we met with, we had individual meetings with Michael Douglas, with Hannah John Kamen, who played Ghost, with Paul Rudd, Ant-Man himself, Evangeline Lilly, Lawrence Fishburne, as well as the director, too. They were all great.
Nice. Who did you have like a favorite one?
Actually, I was going to quickly say Paul Rudd, but now let me back up. I would have to say Evangeline Lilly. She was so honest and raw. She was just fantastic. And talking about the importance of this movie for having a prominent female superhero for Marvel in the lead, talking about how she got into acting was just a great interview.
Nice.
Now, let's take a step back. And before we roll into the sound bites, when you had gotten there, weren't there props and costumes and stuff from the film to look at and touch and play on?
Yeah, there were. There were both the Ant-Man and the Wasp costumes were there. They had photo ops that made us shrink in size and grow in size. They had a photo op, which was a larger than life coffee mug and sugar cubes that we could play with. It was a lot of fun being on the set.
Oh.
Did you feel like an ant?
I did with this coffee cup and the giant sugar cubes. I definitely felt like an ant. And I posted a picture of that on my Instagram account that people can see.
Nice. That's at Adventures by Dad, right?
I think that's at Adventures by Daddy.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
All right, so then after playing on coffee cups and sugar cubes, you went in to speak with all of the stars. Who'd you meet with first?
We met with Michael Douglas first.
Ooh, nice.
And Michael Douglas, he couldn't have been nicer. You know, here he is, this guy that's been in the movies for about 40 to 50 years, won 2 Academy Awards. He was just a great down-to-earth guy. You know, he wasn't standoffish at all and was just talking about how at this stage of his career, he's just really enjoying working with nice people that can create an environment that makes it positive to act in. And he's enjoying playing more of a supporting role, not having the entire film ride on his shoulders.
Yeah, and now he's relevant again, just like what they had done with Robert Redford in Captain America.
Oh.
Yeah, now the kids are like, hey, I know who that is, whereas before the film, who's Robert Redford? Who?
And Michael Douglas said that. He said that his 15-year-old son said, yeah, this is going to give your career a boost. And Michael Douglas was saying now he has like 5-year-old kids coming up to him saying, hey, it's Hank Pym. It's Hank Pym.
Nice. Now, you were saying that your favorite was Evangeline Lilly. So what did she say that really stuck out to you?
Evangeline Lilly said a couple of things. One was how important it was to play a female superhero in the title role and how passionate Marvel is about showcasing this female superhero being built. And she was also talking about how she used to fantasize playing Catwoman and Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Meow.
Partly because that was Michelle Pfeiffer in a skin tight Catwoman outfit, but also because at that time there weren't really that many female superheroes to choose from. So that's who she would play.
Right. Now, you know what? Let's roll into that clip right now so we can hear her talking all about that and an adorable story about her 7-year-old son.
I used to fantasize about being Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Yes. That was my I was like, oh, like I was obsessed with her. And partly because it's Michelle Pfeiffer in a skin-tight leather costume, owning it and being fierce as shit. Can I say shit here? Okay. But also, I think it was because there just wasn't a lot to choose from. You know, there just weren't very many female superheroes. It was mostly male superheroes. So, you know, me and my sisters would sometimes be pretending to be Spider-Man or to be Batman or to be whoever else. And, you know, I had a moment recently where my 7-year-old son was pretending to be the Wasp. Yeah, and I'm still get goosebumps when I tell that story. It chokes me up because, you know, that's a cultural shift. That's a big deal. You know, for a little boy to pretend to be a female superhero, that's like, this is no small thing. And sometimes I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill because there have been female superheroes in the MCU the whole time, and they're amazing and they're, you know, strong and kick-ass and all of those things. But I think what this moment in our culture with Me Too and Time's Up is saying is, you know we've made some progress and that's great, but we're still not equal. And that's clear by the fact that you've made 20 movies and never had a female in the title. So this is a big moment and it is a big deal, and I don't want to downplay it. I want to celebrate it and be excited about it.
I love the part where she was saying that now her 7-year-old son is pretending to be Wasp. This idea that she used to be a female superhero and pretend to be a female superhero, and now here her son is like pretending to be a female superhero, and what an important moment that is at this time.
Oh, I'm sure Kevin Feige's like, yes!
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, more of these moments.
Now, I heard she also talked about how she accidentally got into acting.
It was really interesting. She had a couple of things. One was she had never planned on being an actor, never wanted to go into acting. And then once she did get into acting, her agent approached her about being in a superhero film. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I have no interest in superhero films. It was actually Paul Rudd. She heard that Paul Rudd had the lead. That's what made her want to be in a superhero film. But the most powerful thing was how she got into acting altogether.
But it's true. It was kind of an accident. Okay, women, like, you know how when you hit puberty in high school, and before I hit puberty, I used to be called a brainiac. That was sort of my identity. I had freckles, I had buck teeth, I was scrawny, I had totally flat chested, and I just was like, I got A's, and, I was on the student council and on the soccer team and in the plays, and my thing was overachievement. My thing was not looking great. And my thing was not like all the boys want to date me or anything like that. My thing was like, I have abilities and I have intelligence. And then I hit puberty, and all of a sudden, my entire identity, according to the rest of the world, was wrapped up in what I looked like. And I had all kinds of boys touch me in ways I didn't want to be touched, and I had all kinds of girls hate me in ways I didn't want to be hated. And I decided that I needed to, just not stand out. Just don't be super smart. Don't be talented. Don't stand out, because if you do, you're just going to get hurt. So I spent 5 years kind of dumbing myself down and trying to pretend to be a wallflower when clearly I'm not a wallflower. It's not me. And that built up into a lot of pain. And at one point, I had been scouted on multiple occasions, and exactly. But when I was in my 20s, I had been, and I had turned down the opportunities, saying, I'm more than just this. That's not me. And then I had somebody very astutely say to me, what are you afraid of? I said, I'm not afraid of anything. I just don't want to be defined by being a pretty face. And that's why they want me on camera. And this person said, I think you're afraid of your own greatness. Wow. And I erupted into heaving sobs, and I couldn't stop crying. And something had broken open in me that I didn't even realize I had been doing, and I had to examine what that pain was. And when I did, I realized how much I'd been hiding and how much I'd been trying not to shine.
And now she's the lead in a Marvel film.
Yeah, geez, talk about
how life can just take a sudden left or right turn.
Absolutely.
And it's really thanks to Paul Rudd that she's now the lead in a Marvel film, and they play really well off each other too.
I agree.
I'm going back to her son, her 7-year-old son, as the Wasp.
Yes.
I'm sure she's got a picture of that. Because was it one of these Party City costumes, or was it a costume they had made on set, just like John Molo had made for Nathan Hamill, Mark Hamill's son, on The Empire Strikes Back? He'd made him a little set of Luke Skywalker Bespin fatigues.
Whoa.
So I'm wondering if they had made him a little Wasp costume.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah, no kidding.
I definitely want to see photos of that.
All right, so then you want to meet with Paul Rudd, and I'm sure listening to the audio with a room full of women, it was just 20 minutes of them oohing and eyeing.
Paul Rudd was fantastic, and he always comes across as kind of a nice guy, a lovable guy on screen. And boy, I tell you, that's how he was when we met with him as well. Every actor we talked to, from Michael Douglas to Evangeline Lilly to Hannah John Kamen to Lawrence Fishburne, said what a nice guy Paul Rudd was. And it really comes across when you meet him too. He was fantastic.
Now, isn't he also a father?
He is also a father. And he really kind of talked a little bit about that during our interview, how he's able to connect with his on-screen daughter, Cassie, because she's actually so similar in age to his own daughter as well.
It can be really fun to film scenes with kids. As far as my character doing a scene with a girl playing my daughter, it's not far off. My daughter's a little bit younger, but not much. And those kinds of scenes are accessible to me because I've been in them. I know what that's like. And I also it's one of my favorite things because I share that with my own daughter, and she loves it. At first, when she was very young, I used to think, is it going to be weird when my daughter is old enough and she sees this movie that there's going to be me playing dad to a little girl? And instead, it's the opposite. I think she really loves it because I tell her, you're the real Cassie. And I do little things in the movie that are little things for her.
So he mentioned that he does little things in the movie that are directed toward his own daughter.
Yeah,
but
I want to know what they are.
He never goes into what they were.
Well, he doesn't because another press person cut him off with another question. It was like, I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I want to hear what those winks and nods were.
I wanted to hear too, and I think I'll keep it. Then maybe he just wants to keep it secret between his daughter and him. It's his own little special thing.
Then don't say anything.
Now we're all
curious. You have to make a room full of 25 bloggers go, oh.
Yeah, he totally did too. That was funny. No, we're all moms here. Oh.
So how many were in these groups, and what was the ratio between women and men?
Okay, there were 25 bloggers in the group, and we'd have one cast member meeting with us at a time. The ratio of women to men was 24-1.
You were the lone man.
I was the lone man.
Those are not bad odds.
Here's the thing I love. Maybe this is why I love the interview with Evangeline Lilly. She gets into the room. First thing she says is, "Where's all the men?" To which I stand up. Yeah, right here. And,
way in the back. Over here.
So she and I kind of connected on that point right there.
Oh, that's cool. Aw, that's great. Now, one of the things I love about these press junkets is, getting to hear from the director themselves because they really have the overall big picture of the film. So was there anything that Peyton Reed had mentioned, or what was your impression of him first, and then anything that he said?
I really loved talking with Peyton Reed, and he was kind of giving us some insight of the film. He was actually the one that really kind of pointed out the connection between Doctor Strange's dimensions that he travels through and the quantum realm in Ant-Man. Peyton Reed was talking about how they wanted to fit Ant-Man into kind of the bigger Marvel Cinematic Universe, that Ant-Man kind of like sits off in its own place, but they really want to connect it in with the Avengers 4. And he talked about like how they came up with the end credit scene as well. But one of the things that really kind of touched me the most was this theme of fathers and daughters and how they were really trying to kind of play that up in Ant-Man in the first movie, and now having that relationship between Scott and Cassie grow in the second movie, and how it's a larger theme between a lot of the pairs in the film too.
I really love the idea of doing that intimate scene where she's talking about maybe you need a partner, and in her mind it's her. Oh, yeah. And him having to say that, of course you could do it, but I'd be a terrible father if I allowed you to do it. I think that's one of the things that I like the most in the movie is that Scott, the evolution of the Scott-Cassie relationship. And it helps that Abby is so good. She's such a really focused young actor, and it's sort of rare. And she has Paul is, I think, a huge part of, they just have a really nice chemistry together, and he is able to relax her and sort of like, it's a nice dynamic. But because really, fathers and daughters is a real thematic, it certainly wasn't the first one, and we wanted to progress that in this movie, whether it's literal fathers and daughters like Hank and Hope and Scott and Cassie, or more figurative like Bill Foster and Ava, who's Ghost. I like the idea of furthering that theme.
That's interesting he mentions all that because, one of the things that stood out to me was all these characters and their relationships to each other and their chemistry with each other. So I think he did job well done to Peyton Reed.
Exactly.
My favorite part of hearing Peyton Reed from this press event was his amazing dance around spoilers. He was doing the merengue, the cha-cha, the hoo-ha, the hula, and he went into what we can expect from these characters in future MCU films.
Nice.
Oh, I have to be so careful.
You can go off the record.
Wasp is going to shoot me in the neck.
Michael looked beside you and get shot with a dart.
Yeah, with the dart, absolutely.
Is that a real threat? Because we keep hearing.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it's a real threat, but I don't want to be the person who
finds out.
Says something the wrong thing, and then it's all over the internet. The director blows the thing, Because to me, it's the whole idea of the spoilers thing is.
Tom Holland's job.
That's Tom Holland's thing. Let Tom do it. There's certain things that you want to keep secret, and there's an exhilaration as an audience to experience something. It's so rare now to see a movie that you know nothing about. It's kind of a lost art. But even as a kid, I had a love-hate relationship. When The Empire Strikes Back came out, the novelization came out 2 weeks before the movie opened, and I couldn't wait. And I read the novelization, and I learned, the revelation about Darth Vader. But it didn't really spoil my enjoyment of actually 2 weeks later seeing the movie. But still. So anyway, there's certain things I think that are predetermined that we've all talked about. And then there are things that we've talked about that could possibly happen, or wouldn't it be cool if? And, I think one of the fun things about the Marvel Universe is I think Kevin has a larger plan, but that plan is extremely fluid. And people always ask, what did you have to do in this movie to pay off the other thing? And his general philosophy, at least with the Ant-Man movies, has been make them as standalone as possible. And anything you guys decide to do, whoever the directors are of the next movie, they're going to have to deal with the ramifications, which is kind of nice. But there's a fluidity, and I think it's the idea of whatever makes for the best character arcs and the most interesting and maybe surprising thing wins. And I know I'm dodging your question. But, I think it is sort of leaving things open-ended. And I know things that I want to do with those characters and stories that I want to tell and how we progress the characters. I mean, obviously in this movie, it excited me, as we talked about before, about, putting Wasp center stage and really telling that story.
Boy, that man sure can dance. I loved his Empire Strikes Back reference.
Oh, right.
I bought the novelization myself when I was a kid. I just couldn't read it fast enough before the movie came out. All right, now, Dave, before we wrap this segment up, tell us how your whole Ant-Man and Wasp press day wrapped up for you.
Ant-Man and the Wasp press day ended kind of how it began. When we finished up our interviews, we actually had more photo ops. We went and got a swag bag that contained a miniaturized Ant-Man t-shirt that then expanded into full size. And then we got an Ant-Man action figure as well.
Yeah, and didn't you get big group photos with each of the actors?
We did get group photos with each of the actors too. Yeah, so at the end of every interview, we would have a group photo with each of the actors too.
So if I was there with the Paul Rudd one, I would have been like, all right, I'm getting right next to Paul Rudd. Move.
Oh my goodness, everybody was like that too. So it was actually very well choreographed, as to where we would stand. And so me being the lone dad was always in the back, but I was fine with my role too.
Aww. That's not fair.
When I screened the film, being able to screen it on the Disney lot, that was fantastic too. I know you guys have screened films there, but being able to kind of watch a movie for the first time in that theater on the Disney lot, that was really special.
Nice. Yeah. You were in the main theater there?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, accidentally getting lost on the lot?
Oh, they had security guards out there. There was no chance of that happening.
Yeah, you know what? We'll take you someday, and I'll show you the finer points of accidentally getting lost.
Okay.
All right, with all of that, Dave, thank you very much for coming on and telling us about your great Pixar Fest experiences and your Ant-Man and Wasp stories. Now, if anyone wants to follow you on social media, where do they go? What do they do?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Adventures by Daddy. On Twitter, it just gets truncated to Adventures by Dad. And then my website, and I'll have write-ups of all these interviews. You can find my movie review. That's on adventuresbydaddy.com.
Excellent.
All right, and you can see all your pictures of you in large coffee cups.
There you go.
All right, Dave. Well, awesome. We're so glad you could join us today.
Oh, it was good talking with you guys. It's nice to catch up again.
Yeah, what a perfect way to spend the holidays. Oh, this
exactly.
This should have been a Captain America episode. Oh.
4th of July. Go watch Captain America Civil War to get ready for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Nicely said. All right, well, that will wrap up our episode 218 of Skywalking Through Neverland. We'd like to thank you, Dave Parfitt of AdventuresByDaddy.com, for coming on the show, and all you Skywalkers who shared their happy beeps this episode and last episode and episodes to come. And we want to thank all of you Skywalkers for listening every single week.
Don't forget our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us, youtube.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland.
Dave, what's the big story on AdventuresByDaddy.com this week?
I think we're focusing on Ant-Man and the Wasp all week. We have write-ups of interviews with Michael Douglas, and you can actually find out what Lawrence Fishburne's reaction was when he first saw the Ant-Man and the Wasp end credit scene.
Nice.
Was it anything like Samuel L. Jackson's Fury at the end of Infinity War?
I think that's a pretty accurate comparison. Yes.
Nice. All right. Well, you can help support us Skywalkers. You can head to skywalkingthrough-neverland.com and go to the Support Us tab, where we have links to Pozu shoes, our TeePublic shop, and now Oppo suits. So clicking on those links to buy really helps us out.
Now, we are part of the Retro Zap family, where you can find articles and podcasts such as Brews and Blasters,
Animaniacast,
the Deucecast movie show,
Techno Retro Dads,
and Talking Apes.
You can also find Skywalking Through Neverland at jedinews.co.uk and Fantha Tracks. And Skywalkers, we are on social media as well as Adventures by Daddy, and we are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram. You can also join our Facebook group, which, Dave, you're a part of.
Woohoo!
Dave is a Skywalker.
Yeah, and you can join that group by searching Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group, clicking request to join, and answering the questions that pop up.
And we'll have an Ant-Man and the Wasp discussion posted there next week after, or depending when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
At some point on our Facebook page, so everyone can weigh in and tell us if they agree or disagree with us, and give us your own reviews and reactions.
Definitely. So now stay tuned for bloopers and other fun conversations after the credits, because you know there were some.
Yes, lots and lots of bloopers. So Dave, give us your best, and always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Right, but now you say, and always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
All right, take 3. All right, but you've got to...
What bloopers are you talking about?
Hey.
There are no such bloopers on this show. All together now. And always remember...
Always remember...
that Dave doesn't listen to the end of our show.
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
What do I say? Welcome. Oh my gosh.
We can put it up there if you want.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 218, our festive Ant-Man and the Wasp and Pixar Pier episode of Skywalking Through Neverland. To our family of Skywalkers, we want to thank you for listening to the show every week, and we want to thank all, and we want to welcome you to, I don't know what, because we're not doing Skytubers and facehuggers. Whoops.
Now, you were saying that your favorite was Evangeline Lilly.
I agree, and I like her longer hair in this film.
I like her longer hair too.
Yeah, I third that.
She looked too severe with her hair all chopped off at the neck. I don't know.
Right.
That was just me. Oh.
Hey.
All right. Well,
And
thanks.
That is a wrap on episode 218.
Yeah. Oh no.
Cough.